Welcome everyone to a very special episode of the Per 36 podcast. Today we have a very special guest and longtime Knicks beat reporter in Marc Berman. Marc, thank you so much for coming on.
Great to be in it. It's a slow time, and it's great to try to talk some basketball. You guys do a great job.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's been a thrill, and ever since college, I've been working with the school newspaper, and also in high school. So it's a real dream to cover the Knicks, and just hoping somehow the season moves on. But I think it's becoming a low priority for even Knicks fans because what's going on in the world is terrifying.
Yeah, it's scary for sure. I mean, it's really hard for me to imagine that at this point. It is hard to see the season coming back, at least soon. I mean, what do you think the NBA will end up doing at this point?
Well, we did a story yesterday in this paper, but it was online 2 days ago, that Adam Silver really wants to crown a champion no matter how he goes about it. And the only scenario really that's logical at this point is bringing the 16 playoff teams to one site, Las Vegas being the favorite site, but I've heard about Hawaii and Orlando and even Louisville and even Atlantic City. They've thrown out a bunch of cities, yeah. But Las Vegas, they've done it before in terms of the Summer League, having all 30 teams there last July. And there's so many hotels that aren't being used. But this isn't until July 1st. They don't think they could get anything together until July 1st. They really want to hold a preliminary regular season finale, 4 to 6 games, to get these guys in a little better shape. I mean, one of the other stories that has not been written about enough is these guys are home. The gyms are closed. I was talking to someone close to Alfred Payton, and he's running every day to keep in shape, but he doesn't have any way of putting up shots. And these guys are not getting up shots. So the logistics of getting these guys into good shape, even for the playoff tournament, is another obstacle. It could be dangerous. These guys maybe not in great shape and going full tilt. So there's a lot of obstacles. But Silver, listen, there's so much money at stake. And I know they say it's not about the money, but when they say it's not the money, sometimes it is about the money. And, Silver is really determined to crown a champion.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, because even, outside of money, it's just hard to imagine that, it's hard to imagine an NBA season where there's no crowned champion at all. I'm sure that, I think in some way or another you need to have some champion, and it's really a shame, especially with, LeBron. We never really know how much longer a guy like he has, so, to lose, a potential championship run year, that's just hurtful for fans to see, which, I guess also, again, ties into the whole money thing, that, if you're losing on LeBron playoffs, that's got to hurt.
Yeah, well, it's a disaster for the Lakers with LeBron, obviously, at 35. It's a disaster for the Bucks, the best team in the NBA, because Giannis is going to be a free agent the following season, and this is where they're trying to win. Talking to Jeff Van Gundy last week, he thought Milwaukee was going to win the title. He thought the Clippers and the Lakers were going to be in the conference finals in the West, and he was looking forward to having that series at Staples Center, and it would have been amazing. But it's lousy for the Clippers, who gave the Knicks their first-round draft pick for 12 games of Marcus Morris.
And also, especially when you bring up the Clippers, there's a chance that if the season gets canceled, that it would have salary cap ramifications. And so not only would they have given up the first-round pick for Marcus Morris, but, he's a free agent this summer, but also a guy like Montrezl Harrell, who it was already up in the air if he was going to return, it looks most likely like they won't be able to re-sign him. And so that really, really hurts them.
Yeah, listen, I thought that the Clippers were getting to the finals. I don't know if they would have beaten the Bucks, but I thought they were going to beat the Lakers. And Montreal he's a terrific player. To me, he's one of the most underrated players in the NBA right now. Very few casual NBA fans know of him. I know he's destroyed the Knicks whenever the Knicks play the Clippers. He's an inside menace. And, that Clippers team, after the Morris trade, Morris was taking some time to adjust, but he was going to adjust. He's a good defender, and his three-point shot had not yet fallen for them, but I think he was just getting in rhythm with his new teammates. So, this devastates the Clippers and the Bucks and the Lakers. Those are the three teams that come to mind as hurting most.
Yeah, I mean, Sam and I were actually talking before about what teams we thought were hurt by that, and I think those were pretty much at the top of the list. Though, I mean, at the same time, as a Knicks fan, that kind of helps us because now all of a sudden that precious cap space, which, they've been ragged on a bit for that being the main part of the Porzingis trade, probably fairly so, but all of a sudden that does become a little more valuable, not even just for signing guys this season, but just like, having flexibility if other teams want to get off their now going to be worse contracts.
Yeah, well, the whole issue now going into free agency, if the season is canceled, is will the salary cap remain the same, or because of massive loss of revenue, is it going to drop? And that could hurt the Knicks in terms of having a lot of as much cap space as they thought they would have. Although 2020, the Knicks were never fully focused on signing a massive free agent unless somehow Anthony Davis decided to leave. But they also were looking at making a trade for a star and using the cap space to inherit that big salaried player, a.k.a. Chris Paul or something, although the Chris Paul thing just seemed a little risky in my eyes. But, listen, the Knicks, the one drawback, they're not playing the final 16 games. If they play 4 or 5 games, they'll be lucky. But the drawback is they never got to the young guys in full force. I think they were waiting maybe to April 1st. They were still trying to win games. Mike Miller was told, we want to win games. Just keep playing the guys you think are going to win games. But I think in the final 7 games in April, I think we would have seen Knox starting. We would have seen Brezdikas playing meaningful minutes, more of Dennis Smith, more of Frank and less of Alfred. We never got to that point for the Knicks. Maybe in the final 4 or 5 games, if somehow they do play it, we will see it. But I just feel there's more than a 50-50 chance that there's not going to be a season.
Yeah.
As you look at how this could affect kind of how the summer starts with the combine, which is obviously not going to happen, and the pre-draft process and the workouts, and then obviously the draft. Do you think that kind of this really affects the Knicks in terms of approaching this offseason? Because as we know, this was a really, really crucial offseason for us, especially with Leon Rose just taking the helm and the draft capital we have now, which we haven't had in a while. And it's also not considered that strong in the draft. And so it seems like it's just getting a little more worrisome.
Yeah, it's just an amazing new change-up for all these scouts and administrators to try to figure out, how to continue on analyzing these players. They lose out on the conference tournaments. They lost out on the NCAA tournament. They lose out on the real combine. And the key, though, is the interviews, the face-to-face interviews that so many teams feel is very important just to get a feel of the character. And I guess you could do it over the phone and via Skype or whatever the new, mechanisms are, video conferencing. But you still don't get a real feel of being in the room, with these players. And these are such important decisions. The Knicks, as you know, they'll have 3 picks in the top 38 most likely Charlotte is probably the eighth worst team in the league, and the Knicks have their second round pick, so that would be like a 38th pick. Obviously, they have the lottery pick, and they have the Clippers pick, which would be, I think, 26. I did the math the other day. I can't remember, but yeah, it's going to be so challenging. That right now they're looking at videotape, and I will say that Scott Perry does run a pretty good draft, and he has seen these guys since high school, thankfully, because he didn't get a full freshman season out of some of these lottery picks. So it will show who has the great scouting staffs to adjust to these times.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I also just want to go back to one of the things you said before that, just that, I mean, I think it really is disappointing that we missed out on those precious, young player minutes. I know you and I have kind of disagreed a bit on that. I mean, obviously no one foresaw this coming, but I mean, I'm part of the minutes police who, definitely loves to see the young guys play, even through through the growing pains. Though at the same time, I will honestly say that despite all of that, really as long as they're playing to a certain extent, I'm happy. And I think by the end, with just a short time under Miller, I would say we have seen a bit of progression under everyone. But I really think we missed out on not giving Brazdeikis really any real NBA minutes. And I was just wondering if I don't know, what are your... do you wish they... Obviously, no one expected this, but do you wish they had played the young guys a bit more?
We clashed before the All-Star break, but when the Knicks were coming out of the break, I had changed my tune. Going into the break, they had that terrible loss in Atlanta in double overtime where they blew the lead, and then they got crushed by the Wizards in the final game entering the All-Star break. And at that point, there was no purpose in continuing this myth of, trying to stay in the race. But before that, they had a 4-game winning streak. They lost in Atlanta, and that snapped a 4-game winning streak. So I was on board with Mike Miller's decisions to roll with some of the young veterans as opposed to going full force on Knox. But I will say that after the break, I was shocked. I especially even when Leon Rose came aboard, I thought Knox would be in the starting lineup. I thought we'd see more out of Smith. When Smith came back from the concussion, I don't think he played a minute. I think those final 2 games he was a DNP. It was in retrospect, it was a massive mistake. No one knew, obviously, the coronavirus would shut down the season. But in retrospect, it was a major mistake that Kevin Knox never got a runway to really show himself like he flashed as a rookie. Because I thought the rookie year, though a roller coaster, there were some wonderful nights where he showed all-star form. And his confidence was crushed this season by Fizdale and Miller. And I'm sure the organization would like to have it back. And Brazdeikis, I think he's a good player. In the summer league, he looked better than Barrett, but he's not a defender at all. And the Knicks had to really showcase their number 3 pick in the draft, and the glut at that position, they just had too many players. So Brazdeikis, I was told when we wrote it, 10 days ago or so, that Brazdeikis was going to get his shot starting in April 1st when the G League season officially ended. And the Westchester Knicks were not making the playoffs. Yeah, it's a big loss that the Knicks did not get a chance to run these young guys out a lot more.
Going off that, on kind of the ramifications of not letting those young guys get minutes, even a guy like Frank, he's obviously he's not a rookie, it's his 3rd year, but he's never really gotten the consistent run that to show really that he could be our starting either point guard or even just a combo guard. He's always kind of been kept on that leash, but as you know, he is as much of a Knicks fan favorite as it gets. And so now going into a summer where he's going to be eligible for an extension, what do you think it looks like in terms of the team wanting him back, and also I don't even know what an extension for Frank looks like money-wise. Like, I have no idea what his value is, because he's shown flashes of being a guy that could start in the NBA for the next 12 years, but you really don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there'll be an extension next year. I think if they don't trade him on draft night, which still is a possibility, I think they're going to let him become a restricted free agent. They'll still have an ability to match any offer. And I think his game hasn't evolved enough for them to really invest enough in an extension. I think they'd rather see what his market holds as a free agent, and then they can match an offer or not match an offer. Regarding Frank's season, I disagree a little. I thought he got a lot of minutes off the bench. I think they got a chance to see enough of him. Yes, he probably should have, after the All-Star break, started over Alfred Payton. And listen, Dennis did get hurt with the concussions, and he missed several games. But yeah, in the perfect world, it should have been Frank starting and Dennis coming off the bench, and Alfred out of the rotation, because I still think it's a long shot that Alfred's option is picked up. But I think Leon Rose and Perry thought they had more time, and they just didn't realize that they would have no time, maybe 4 games if they restart the regular season. But it's really unfortunate, and that's the worst part of this season suspension, is just not getting enough of a chance to see the Frank, Ntilikina, Kevin Knox, Dennis Smith, Porzingis. We did see a lot of Robinson, and we did see enough of Barrett, but those other guys got the short shrift, and somehow Damian Dotson just fell off the map.
Yeah, I mean that's strange to me, because I mean he's one of their younger guys, but he's a guy that pretty much, especially with Frank, they've been so effective together. It's just always strange how he always falls out of favor. I don't know what. Do you have any idea as to why he gets undervalued at times?
Yeah, it's amazing how politics still plays a role, unfortunately. Dotson drafted by Phil Jackson, and Mills was the GM. Both of them not with the organization now. Leon Rose, I mean, once Leon came aboard, Dotson was done. I mean, he was a DNP, I think 8 of the last 9 games. His three-point percentage was still up there in the 36.37% range. I remember asking Mike Miller before one game, what's happened to Dotson, and he gave a snarky response. Well, I've just talked about Wayne Ellington playing really well, and that's your answer. So, and yet Wayne, after that night when I asked Miller, Wayne had a couple of bad games, and he still was playing.
And also, I mean, Wayne...
Bullock, too, as a defender. I don't know. Dotson seems to be a good three-point shooter, hustles on defense, is a smart player. He's not a ball handler. He's not a real shot creator, but I like him, and he's still young.
Yeah, I don't know, it's strange, and even if Wayne, again, just my point of difference with these guys is just that even if Wayne Ellington is playing well, and I mean I think he does add some value to maybe make life easier for the young guys with his shooting. I mean Dotson brings similar things to the table, and it's more likely that that's a guy you're going to want to keep around for the future than Ellington, I'd say.
Yeah, it's so much politics. Wayne Ellington has a pretty powerful agent in Mark Bartelstein. Wayne had a chance, I'm told, and I wrote a few days ago that there were a few teams after the trade deadline that told Ellington's people that they'd sign him for depth, a playoff team in each conference, that they would sign Ellington for some depth. And Wayne decided that he preferred to remain with the Knicks to help the young guys, and Scott Perry really wanted him to be around the young guys. They thought he was a good influence. So my sense is they were rewarding him with some playing time because he didn't press the issue. And Wayne's a really good guy in the locker room. side agreement. Listen, if he doesn't take a buyout, don't DNP him every night. And then with Dotson, there seems not to be an interest in re-signing him. So it was a little frustrating, and I really like Dotson. I think he's a really good locker room guy too, but somewhere along the lines, they've decided to move on from him.
Going back to the point you made about obviously politics play a role in everything in the NBA, and especially like with Dotson being a Mills and Phil guy. Going back to Frank, you have a little bit of a worry that because Frank is a Mills and Phil guy, maybe that they kind of want to cut ties from him and start fresh.
Right. Well, there's no doubt Mills was Frank's top supporter. But even further, as we wrote, Leon Rose being his former agent, getting fired by Ntilikina a year ago, you wonder if there's still hard feelings. At the time, I know CAA was really upset that Frank fired the agency to go with the French guy, Blona Niage. I probably pronounced that wrong. But, he went with a French agent, and the CAA was not happy. Leon actually was the primary agent there. So does that factor in? Listen, Frank has some things he needs to work on. And I think the Knicks do not regard him as a starting point guard for the future, and that's why where the salary comes in, he'll make $6.2 million next year, and then a restricted free agent. What are you going to pay him? What's his market value? What are they going to do in the draft with a point guard? They were told earlier in the season, keep your eyes out for a scoring point guard. That's what we need for our lottery pick. So a lot depends on who they draft regarding Frank's future.
And then again, on politics, I mean, it seems a lot of moves around the Knicks have been, pulled off apart because Leon Rose has been, already in the ear of Dolan and with CAA. I know, just a few, like Ronaldo Bachman was drafted pretty early or on than most would have expected, and he was a CAA agent. They traded for Bargnani, who was a CAA agent. I know there's like a push to get Mike Woodson as one, and obviously Melo is one. So I'm just wondering, do you think there's any concern of, Leon Rose favoring CAA guys even as a GM? Do you think that factors in at all, where he's still going to be looking out for his agency?
Yeah, there's definitely a concern. I mean, he even wrote in today's paper about Payton. He's got that $8 million option for next year, and I wrote that, hey, it doesn't hurt that he's a CAA client, although Leon wasn't his primary client. Aaron Mintz is, and Aaron and Leon are extremely close. And Alfred did well. Listen, I wrote he's still one of the underrated point guards in the league. No one really respects him that much, and the Knicks did better when he was running the show, but I still think it's a long shot that they do exercise the option, but I think his chances are stronger because he's from CAA, and I think all through when we look at these transactions, I think we're going to be saying he's a CAA guy, but Melo Ball has signed with CAA, so we wonder about that. I think that's always in the background here.
Yeah. I'm sorry, go Sam.
So kind of going off of that, in your experience, you've obviously been around firsthand, kind of seen every new regime operates, and I kind of want to get your opinion on, well, not what maybe you haven't had much time to see so far, but kind of what you're looking for with the Rose era to really have genuine optimism that this can be a turnaround for the franchise.
Well, a lot will depend on who he hires as general manager, or if he does decide to keep Scott. I think because of the coronavirus, I think it's not appropriate right now to be making changes and firing people. I think Scott and some of his scouts a great GM around him. I think he needs, a few better scouts around him. I think it's really important because Leon he's been an agent. I mean, this is new territory. It's a risk to hire someone that has no experience running basketball operations for an NBA team. But Dolan believes that CAA and Leon has a lot of connections with maybe other agents and obviously, star players. I think the bottom line is James Dolan wants Leon Rose to bring in a superstar, and he thinks Leon has what it takes to get that done. He lost faith in Steve Mills and Scott Perry. The Kristaps Porzingis trade obviously was the final nail in the coffin, the way it turned out, with using their cap space on role players and having Dennis Smith become a complete disaster this season. So Leon's here to bring in a superstar, and he knows them all, and that doesn't mean that he's going to be able to swing a deal or sign the player, but, that's what Dolan's faith is right now.
Speaking of optimism, is there, with, the Knicks are obviously, they haven't given much to be optimistic about for about, almost a decade or so now. Is it hard to write, what is it like with the drawback from fans you get, and does that factor in at all where you try to play nice, even though if you know that, there's a lot to not be optimistic about? Does fan response ever factor into how you navigate, writing?
Yeah, look, the Knicks fans I've found do not want to read any more negativity. They've been beaten down, and they want us to find the silver linings, and it's a challenge. But when there are silver linings, I will definitely write it. And when we write a negative story, some fans get really upset. But the facts are the facts. And this team has been a disaster for most of 20 years, especially for the last 7 seasons, with such inconsistent leadership and ever-changing coaches and presidents, and it's been a nightmare. And Dolan doesn't make it any easier when he starts chastising fans and plays loud music to drown out sell the team chants, because the fans are paying great money and they should be allowed to chant sell the team.
Yeah.
But I have noticed more this season than any season that the fans are so beaten down that they want to read positivity, and we try to find the silver linings. And I'm in the middle of a 15-part series, and we pointed out the highlights of some of the players like Taj Gibson and Hayden. Had a pretty good year. And Barrett, despite his horrible percentages, he looked like a guy who's going to get better and could contend for an all-star team one day. But, yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge to cover this team for the last 21 seasons because it's been so miserable, and ownership does not make my job any easier.
Yeah. I mean, to be a Knicks fan, you essentially have to be crazy considering how bad they've been. So you kind of like...
It's more just, you just have to be content with constant suffering. And then us as Knicks fans, it becomes really a self-deprecating. We get comfortable in the ineptitude of the team we love. And so it is. But now, this is a question I've always wondered. With you being kind of in the press conferences every day and on the road, and obviously we see on Twitter the back and forth you have with the different other beat reporters and Bondi and Bork and all those guys. And obviously it gets contentious at times, but I'm wondering what is that dynamic like in person? Is it, because you see these guys all the time, you write for rivaling companies, what is that dynamic like?
Well, we have a text chain that's been going on for a couple of years, where we just pretty much bash each other in a joking fashion. I mean, anything you see on Twitter with guys taking shots at each other, for the most part, it's mostly joking. But yeah, no, we get along great when we're together on the road, dinners together, sharing camps, and I know that I know there could be a perception that we all hate each other, but it's not the case. I mean, yeah, of course we get angry at each other. Someone writes something and you don't agree with, but for the most part, it's a lot of laughs, and it's a funny group of guys. I think we have a really good dynamic, all of us, and it makes it tolerable because covering a terrible team is challenging. And then when we lost Fizdale, we had a head coach in Mike Miller who was not very forthcoming and was probably, without a question, the worst quote I've ever had to deal with it for a Knicks head coach.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Mike, he warmed up maybe in the last few weeks, but he still was not very candid. It was very rare when he would criticize a player, but sometimes his responses, especially early on, were just so generic, it was really tough to work with. Especially coming off of Fizdale, who probably was the best quote I've ever had on this beat.
Yeah, I mean,
again, it's tough. Listen, when the team's out of the playoff race in, say, like December 1st, then you still have to come up with stories and cover games that are essentially meaningless as far as the playoffs. It's hard, and we get to commiserate together.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. You definitely have to have a sense of humor to cover this team. I'm glad to hear that because when I know now that it was probably that it was mostly joking, but I remember I would read some of Frankie Sola's tweets calling you Berman of the Post. I was like, dang, I hope they're joking. It's a bit much.
Yeah, he's on the text stream too. Yeah. Frank is only happy when he's ripping other writers, and it's all in jest though. But that's one of his hobbies.
Yeah, I like ripping him too though. He never really rips back. He must have me muted or something. But
oh, you go after him on Twitter?
all the time.
After him all the time.
He'll make an anti.
He used to respond like crazy, but I think he's maybe toned it down. But yeah, he's very. He loves Twitter. I mean, that's one of his favorite outlets.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I love it too. No, he'll just make up anti-Porzingis. He'll make a Porzingis tweet ripping the Knicks, and then when Porzingis has a bad game, I'll rip him back.
Whenever Kristaps has a monster game, Frank will report it.
Rub it in all of our faces.
Right.
But it's the other way around. That's when I'll step up and I'll be silent when he has a good game.
Right. Yeah, Kristaps, he really finished strong.
Yeah.
There was a time in the middle of the year where, he got hurt, and then he was a little inefficient, but I think he finished strong. I think he's going to be a very good player. Yeah. And he's on a winning team. And finally, he wasn't even on a winning team in Spain when he played. He was on pretty bad teams in Spain.
Yeah, I mean...
When you look back to kind of the end of the Kristaps chapter with the Knicks, where kind of all of those stories were starting to trickle out, and we couldn't really figure out, hey, is this the Knicks leaking this stuff to try to take the heat off of them, or is there kind of some validity to him really, maybe not being the best locker room guy and off-the-court influence? What was kind of your feel around that situation?
Are we talking about Kristaps?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, well, it was more the brother. Giannis Porzingis drove. Yeah, he drove management crazy. He had very high expectations and was very demanding, and he just didn't see it in Steve Mills. He just did not trust him. I think they liked Fizdale well enough. I think Kristaps was crazy about Fizdale, especially the way he handled Cantor. I think Fizdale also had, a history of not loving European players. So I think there was that, but ultimately Giannis just did not believe in the administration, and did not believe they were going to build a winning team. Yet, when it came to that fateful meeting, I think the Knicks weren't trying to convince him anymore. I think the Knicks had the Dallas deal in place. They had the visions of opening up that cap space for Kyrie and KD. And once they sat down and said, we need a commitment from you, we want to know if you want to be here. And when Kristaps and Giannis gave their usual, they're not sure, and blah, blah, Perry and Mills were okay, we're done. they felt they had done everything they could to show Kristaps that, they're on the right track. And they felt that if by then they couldn't convince them, they decided to go a different route. It turned into a disaster.
Now, do you know of any, obviously there was some rumblings of that they already had that deal in place before that Mavs-Knicks game that started, or they met at that game. Had you heard
the night before, right? Yeah,
the night before. Have you heard of any possible other offers that could have been on the table? I know that there was some rumblings that they tried to get Fox, or they tried to get Donovan Mitchell, and they both got rejected. But had you heard of any sort of other possibilities with that trade, or was it kind of just they wanted to have one or two slots and they just took them as too?
Yeah, well, one of the problems was the Knicks were very concerned about the notion that they were shopping Porzingis. They were very concerned that it got out there and it would have been a major soap opera. So they were very discreet. They did speak to probably 8 teams, and ultimately the decision was we prefer the cap space than anything else. So they went the cap space route. They thought Dennis Smith was still in his rookie contract and still had potential. But no, did they canvass every team like they should have? No, because they were afraid it would get out that they were shopping Porzingis, and they didn't want that to happen. One, it would have ticked off Giannis Porzingis. So when they sat down, Giannis really didn't have much of an idea that the Knicks had already been shopping him to some teams. And the irony, and we've written this, after the meeting, Giannis either emailed a wish list to Mills or called him up on the phone with a wish list of 4 or 5 teams. And by the time the Knicks got the wish list, they pretty much had the deal with Dallas in place, and Dallas was not on the wish list. So, I think the Knicks, I don't like to use the word went behind their backs, but yeah, they were shopping him in the few weeks leading up to that meeting.
Yeah, makes sense. To go back to a similar question from before, with because the Knicks haven't been all that great, is it hard navigating writing honestly about some of that poor play and being a little concerned about a player reading something and getting offended?
Yeah, well, that's one of the challenging parts of being a beat writer is writing the truth and still appearing in the locker room the next day to face that player or that coach. That's one of the real difficult parts of the job is maintaining relationships with players that you're sometimes writing negatively about. And that's why it's so much easier to cover a winning team, because you're usually writing the positive. But with this Knicks team, there was a lot of negative stuff going on. But listen, you try to just be as nice as possible to the guys in person. You hope they don't really read the stuff. They probably do. If something's particularly negative, their agent or one of the Knicks PR people may show the player the piece. But the key is just to really not talk about it and just talk about other stuff and just being very pleasant with them.
Yeah.
Now,
that's right.
Well, so we're at close to 45 minutes now, so we'll look to wrap it up. But as this is the Per 36 podcast, we asked all of our guests this, and you honestly have one of the more unique perspectives with all the basketball games you've seen, and especially with not many star caliber players, do you have over the years your favorite per 36 All-Star who might be a really underappreciated bench guy who averaged 6 minutes a game, but who you really kind of liked or appreciated?
Like not a starting type player?
Yeah, like a guy like Chris Copeland or Pablo Prigioni is kind of like what we're going for.
Yeah, like
those are two good guesses, candidates there. Yeah, I mean, just from the last few years, I know this is going to sound trite, but I enjoyed covering Ron Baker. I mean, this guy was not supposed to be in the NBA, and, you know, I just enjoyed being around him. He was such a rah-rah guy in the locker room and on the bench, and, you know, he made the most of his talents, and he was a defender, and he was such a team guy, and he was just a delight to be around. He was great in the locker room, and that's, you know, everyone, listen, his contract, when he got that 2-year, $9 million, every agent in the country was, what? How did that happen? But Steve Mills just fell in love with him as, you know, a locker room guy who was content to be a 15th man, and I think fans liked him. And I wish if he could have developed a three-point shot, you know, because he did play defense, but he never became a good enough three-point shooter to stick in the league. I still think he's going to try to continue on his career in Europe, but, you know, from the very recent times, you know, Ron was a lot of fun to cover.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer. I think most Knicks fans are glad to hear Ron was like that. That was definitely like the type of player we were going for. I love Ron, and I definitely agree that just, you know, if he just had a shot, he probably would be like a solid player. I mean, he's a good defender. He was really just a shot away, but that hurts you, kind of like it's hurt Frank. I think right now he's playing in Russia. I last time I checked, his numbers were scary how not good they are. But I mean, I think he's averaging like 30 points a game in like 16 minutes, which was surprising.
Wow. The irony is that Ron and Fred VanVleet were Wichita State teammates and were considered sort of similar. But VanVleet just kept improving, and Ron, you know, he had the torn shoulder, so that hurt Ron's development.
For
but
sure.
you know, VanVleet loves. You asked VanVleet about Baker during the finals, and VanVleet just talked like 2 minutes about the guy, how much he loves him. You know, they were great teammates. Wichita State was a powerhouse when those two guys were.
Anthony Early, I remember being super excited about Anthony Early until that accident.
Yeah, that's you know, Phil Jackson loved Clee Anthony and the scouts. They got him in the second round, and they really thought he was a first-round pick. And just, yeah, he did not work hard enough, I guess, on his game either. And then he got into some trouble with the law. And, that turned into a real bust. That was the same draft. They actually, at 65, they picked Thanasis, the Greek freak's brother.
Yeah.
And he never got much of a cup of coffee. And I've written before that Giannis, you know, he was really ticked off at the Knicks that they never gave his brother a shot. His brother's now with Milwaukee.
Yeah, that's another good per 36 All-Star right there, because I think he scored like once in his like 1 minute he got, so I think he averages like 50 points per 36.
That's amazing. Yeah, he was a very jovial kid, and really, he was a defender. He was an active defender, and he really wanted to show his stuff, and he was so disappointed that they buried him in the G League for so long. And did he actually? I know he played at least one game. I wasn't sure if it was even more than that, but
I think
it was really weird.
I think it was just one game for literally maybe just like 3 minutes. But yeah, he played 2 games, 6 minutes total. So yeah, he wasn't given a lot of a chance, and that's kind of unfortunate because it probably does hurt. There are already low chances at Giannis, even though they're the only team to really give him a shot outside of the Bucks. That, you know, they kind of had to go out and just go out of their way to hurt him like that. But
yeah, well, if they knew what they knew now, they probably would have given him a lot more of an opportunity. But yeah, I remember quoting Giannis. We were in London. The Knicks Bucks were in London a few years ago, and I asked Giannis about it, and he took a little shot at the Knicks. But Yeah, Thanasis is probably only in the NBA right now because of his brother, but listen, Giannis could re-sign with Milwaukee, and maybe one of the reasons is he appreciated what they did for his brother.
It's like when you signed Chris Smith.
Right, exactly. For J.R. Smith, yes.
Another
Not
perfect.
the same talent, but, same idea. And that was Leon Rose, by the way. Leon,
yeah, that was CAA. Oh, he's...
Wow. Another.
Hope that because he's been on the other end of the deal so many times screwing us, that it'll work kind of opposite, and he'll bring that power to us now.
Yeah, well, Leon, unfortunately, was part of a few bad deals, going back to Eddie Curry and obviously Andrea Bargnani. So those deals may have worked out for his client somewhat, but it was not good for the Knicks.
All right. We'll let you go. Thank you so much for coming on. Do you have anything to promote or anything in particular?
I mean, we're still coming out with a sports section every day at the New York Post, amazingly. And I'm in the midst of a 15-part series on every player. Bobby Portis is next up. It's in alphabetical order, so we're on, I think, part 10 or part 11. But I know I'm writing up Bobby as soon as we hang up here.
All right.
And Simon, thanks so much. I really appreciate getting a chance to talk about the Knicks during these tough times.
We appreciate it too.
Awesome. We really enjoyed talking to you, and hopefully we'll talk again at some point. Thank you so much for coming on.
All right, thanks, guys, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
Stay safe.
Have a good one.